What? I love garbage.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Jamsys, and people were asking about an account review, especially now that I hit legend. Like, woohoo! Like, look at this cool ass frame. I need to change this profile card, but like, whatever. But yeah, we all know your boy hit legend. The frame's kind of ugly, but you know, we take what we can get here. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I feel like people are gonna be surprised when they see my gear, but like, we'll burn that bridge when we get there. This is my Edward, kind of bad, but this star sign is garbage without imprints. So, oof. Most people would say to put your Edward on injury, and I would definitely agree, since a lot of people do tend to like try and tank up against this unit when you pick it. But with this current gear, he's a decent like 4 or 5 pick into debuff cleavers or like heavy debuffers, and he's mostly a force man anyway. So like, I didn't have too much trouble, but like, again, like I wouldn't recommend this type of build. If you can afford it, I would definitely put better gear on him. I just can't. This is my Jacko. She's pretty mid, aside from like the max artifact. This 2% lost me a few games, but she was a pretty nice bridge for people who didn't respect the potential for like Jacko to show up in the 4 or 5 position with like an ace hitter or something. So that was pretty nice. I didn't do a lot of cleaving this season, so she didn't see too much use. This Kron, yeah, I never picked him, but he was there in case I needed to. Needs a bit more attack in exchange for like the other stats, but he did his job okay, so like no complaints. This is Caesarea. She was actually really good this season since there was a bunch of high ER units running around, and with like this much effectiveness, you basically hit everything anyway. I would have to say though that my Caesarea is a little bit slow and lower attack because like this piece, but she definitely worked. I didn't pick her too often, but when she did, she was either force banned or she just won me the game, which is pretty nice. This is my Milim, one of many book holders on my account. She's a little squishier than normal Milims, I think, but I trade that for like 15 speed, and I think that gave me pretty good usage out of her because she is the fastest of my book holders, or like fastest out of my like standard DPS, I should say. So I could always ensure I could one-shot a priority unit with her like S1 and S3 combo. But yeah, decent unit, decent unit. This is my Poultice. Nothing too special. She's just like your average non-ran user Poultice. She has EHP to survive a ran S3, and then she has like enough damage and book to like provide utility for the team. I picked her a lot more towards the end of the season when people started Rowana cleaving a lot. Her value in Rowana cleaves mostly comes from like her ability to like cuck all the bridges. Like she cucks Emma Rana, she cucks Jacko, she cucks Summerbreak Charlotte to some extent, to like where your things cut instead of Summerbreak Charlotte cutting. But you know, her best in slot S2 just makes it so that this unit's never gonna go away. This is my Roy. I re-geared him towards the end of the season because there were a lot of people that are playing safe. And against people who draft too safely, like Roy is a great punisher on top of a Leica. So like what you would do is you would have your like, I would have my opener plus DJB plus like Sylvan Sage Vivian or something. And then I will pick Roy a Leica on the 4-5. And then people will be forced to pick what they want to die to. You can obviously get better stats on your Roy, but this is pretty decent for leftover gear on Max book. This is my Karina. She's kind of anemic, free to play arty, and a little squishy, a lot squishy actually, but I only use her in anti-cleave, and having this much speed actually was really helpful because if I had Poultice on my side, and they procced Karina, their bridges wouldn't cut, but Karina would, and then she would like one shot a key unit, and then I would win off that. So that was pretty good. Except my tankier on my account, as you'll see, is pretty bad. But this Karina is like a 5 out of 10, like gets the job done. This is my main way that I abused my way into legend, I think. This is my Lua. She is pretty high gear score too for an opener, like 435 or something. But yeah, she's 310 almost. Like this piece holds me back, and this piece holds me back. This is a penta roll, by the way, which is like so tragic. But yeah, I would say Song of Stars was a really big 50-50. Song of Stars made it so that against slower players, you were a lot better against them, but not having Guiding Light into faster Zeo cleavers, that was kind of a struggle, but you know, we made it work. One big thing to note about my build is that since she's so tanky, she actually survives a lot of hits people don't expect her to survive. Like, if I have immunity on, I'm surviving a Karina death buff S3. I'm surviving a POC S3 if there's like 1 or 2 deaths only on board. So, pretty much a big MVP of my draft this season, especially since a lot of people were forced to uncage her, thanks to ML Landy and stuff. But nice. Arya, this build hasn't really changed. She's a little bit squishy on the HP side, but I'm more than happy on all the other stats. She was pretty good this season, except a lot of people really like to pick LRK plus Karina into aggressive drafts, so she wasn't really good at anchoring those type of drafts because she would just die to an LRK S3 plus Karina S3, but in a lot of these other drafts, she was pretty good. Got a lot of mileage out of her. Need to upgrade this boot sometime, but soon TM. This is my Ida. She is really nerfed, if you can't tell. But I have her on a kind of like hybrid effectiveness build now, because I think there's a place for like pure DPS Ida, but I think since a lot of these turn 2 units run like 100 or like 80 ER, having this level of effectiveness is pretty good. Like if my Ida was max effectiveness, she would hit 82% crit. Wow, I'm good at math based. But yeah, she would hit 82% crit. And then since I often picked her with things like Politis who have effectiveness imprint, she would be really good into the, like those type of drafts where she suddenly hits like 100 ER. And there was a game on last day where I played against Retry Ever, like the 3rd place Hall of Fame guy, where my Ida stunned his whole team and then Retry Ever immediately FF'd out, and that was like the funniest shit ever. So I'd really recommend your Ida to run like some sort of effectiveness. I'm only able to run this build because of like really weird pieces like this. Like, who would use this other than this? But yeah, 10 out of 10. Would recommend. This is my F10A. It's a pretty bad F10A if I'm not gonna lie. She's slow. She doesn't have immunity. She doesn't have 200 effectiveness without Curse Compass, but a lot of the time when you last pick F10A in a draft that F10A murders, they pretty much are forced to post banner. But a few people try their luck and they get, you know, demolished by this S3 into S2 combo, which is like death breaks and shit. But yeah, pretty good. I really wish I had the speed gear to give her better stuff, but I just don't, and it's not in the cards for me. So unlucky, you know? But we're gonna move on to Ahmed. Mine is worst in the world, but I only picked her in a few select cases. So when I have first pick and I first pick Lua and they pick like 2 really snail things, so let's say they pick like Carmen or Carmen Destina or something like that, that is when Ahmed would come out, because Ahmed is really good at punishing slower players with her really fast tempo. But again, my account's pretty slow, so this is the best gear I could do. Like ideally, I would want way more bulk and ER at this speed, or have it at 300 speed with the same ER, but you know. Fun fact, my account only has 18 speed pieces that are 20 plus. It's just my top end's like kind of on the faster side for an account with only 18 20 speeders, but you know, whatever. we make it work here on this channel. This is my Zahawk. Again, kind of mid. Slow, lowish damage, but when I picked him, he would be a force ban or he won me the game. So like, a good pocket pick. This is my Senya. She's okay, like build-wise. She's not a free-to-play RD, plus she's not max imprint. And ideally, I would want to have her on lifesteal, but I just don't have that quality of Banshee gear, unfortunately. And a lot of the times I pick Senya, she just got crit and died anyway. Like, if you ever watch me stream and I pick Senya in an anti-cleave position, you will see my Senya getting crit by like the poultice or whatever and just losing. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, not bad. Not bad. Like, I definitely gained respect for her this season. You know, when she worked as intended and didn't get crit. This is my Yolha. Nothing too special. She's a little on the squishier side. And, like, do you see like the free gear starting to show up now? But I had my account appraised by a few people, like AB or like other legend finishers in my guild, and they were like, oh yeah, like your aggressive gear is pretty good, but then when you look at your tank gear, like, bro, what happened? And I'm like, don't talk to me about it. I cannot answer. But yeah, ideally I would want this Yola to be on protection set with similar stats, but who farms Golem? Not me, bro. But she actually made a big resurgence this season, and I'm investing more gear into her when I can do it. This is my Celine. She's on like pretty good gear. Her crit rate's kind of weird, and imprint and artifact, but she is best in slot into some of these people whose drafts rely too heavily on non-attack skills. Like, for example, like Celius Lua racers, for example, would be forced to ban a Celine if you picked it. But she was pretty good, or like she was really good into comps where you could force the non-attack skill, like Fire Lilius and Lua, for example, and they had a steady. Like, she's best in slot for these type of comps. But she has some bulk to live being focused a little bit, but she has like enough damage to kill squishies with attack buff from this thing. This is my Racer Sid. Upgraded him a little for last day, but again, nothing too special. You could definitely make a better one. It's just like, I picked him sometimes on the last day when like they picked like Solly P Flan. I was just not gonna play into that. So I picked these two in tandem and tried to cleave them. And I did cleave Mace's new account, Mace Pex's account with it. So like, hooray for me, I guess. This is my Speed Landy. She's pretty good for like out-tempoing slower teams. I found it kind of difficult to draft her though. Ideally I would try to get immunity on her if I could for like Zeo Cleave, but whatever, can't do anything about it. This is my Ludwig. Pretty decent. I nerfed him a lot from before when I was really reliant on Ahmed, but he's pretty decent. The damage is really good. I think I would want to speed him up a little thanks to all the Ocean Breeze Lucas running around, but there was like a really aggressive draft you could pick against slower players where it would be like Lua, Ahmed, Sylvan Sage Vivian, like a Ludwig, and then no matter what combination of units went through, like you delete them with all the AoE damage. So he was really good into that slot, and I luck sacked all these imprints, so even better, you know. This is my free-to-play Destina. We have more free gear. She's kind of like mid. She doesn't do anything well. She's not exceedingly tanky, and she doesn't have that much ER either. But she got the job done when I picked her, so I'm pretty satisfied. This is my very, very slow Celius. She's kind of squishy too. But again, if you look at my account, my speed gear is very, very questionable outside of the top end, you'll notice. But she has enough speed to like outspeed other mid-speed units. But the important thing is that with Circus, she hits above 200 effectiveness, which means that you will debuff most Ocean Breeze Lucas and maybe like some other slower soul weavers like Destina, since a lot of people are changing her to be really bulky with low ER. So that let me cheat some wins against slower players who are relying on like Ocean Breeze Luca or Desert Jewel Star, for example. So that was pretty nice. This is my French LQC. It's a faster build, which is run on L's Fist. The stats could be more optimized. Like this could use a critical hit chance neck on Destro set, and it would have a lot more gear score. But you know, I only farm Wyvern. But the theory behind this LQC is that you would pick it into like low tempo dark units like APOC or stuff, and she's self-sufficient because she cycles and heals with this, and especially with Soulburn, she cycles really fast. So you could get your S3 up every other turn with Soulburn. So that was her strength, but I didn't pick her that often. But when I did, she usually won. I think I picked her like 5 times and she won 4 out of those 5. So pretty happy about that. Terrible unit. I don't know why she was designed like this. She needs to be removed. Get the shit out of my face. Thank you. But she's built for my arena defense and whatever. This is another very questionable build on Arrowell. She needs more of everything, I think. Like just like every stat in general, but I don't have the gear for it. What can you do? I rarely picked her, but you know, she was there in case I wanted to. This is my other MLM I'm selling right now. This is Lifesteal Aiden. It's one of the better solo carries for aggro anchors because being able to lifesteal off of S2 and S3 is really big, and then getting double lifesteal off of S1 really makes it so that as long as she doesn't get hit and dies like a dog, she'll always find value in a longer match, especially since she gets continuous CR pushes near the end, and then Shepherd of the Hollow to synergize with the solo carry potential. Spirit Eye Celine, I actually never picked her this season because single target cleave was like pretty much dead, and Veronica just dumps all over this unit. But she was there in case I wanted to pick her, but like I'll probably ungear her. This is my T-Siren. She was exactly how this was. Like she's on the wrong EE. The ring isn't max reforged, but you would pick her against people who were like Zeo, or like you pick her against people who really like Stenny Bryceria. Like that was her best in slot pick, or like Stenny APOC, where they have single target damage dealers. If you get a Gab plus Soulburn, any Stenny would die. That's why the crit rate didn't really matter too much, since you'd only pick her into those type of teams anyway. But she was a pretty good answer to those kind of like dark Stenny protection comps. I actually used T-Siren to cook KJ once, so that was pretty nice. C Pavel, more free gear. I didn't really draft him though because I'm not a hardcore cleaver, but I could. I think I did a few times, like once or twice, where you could cheese slower players with C Pavel, and that's where I would mostly pick him. Flutica, she's re-geared on my account because Zeo became so prevalent in the last few weeks of RTA, and Flutica is one of those like safer openers into Zeo thanks to Guiding Late, as long as they had no bridges. But she was there and she was really good, and she was a really good pickup like 4 or 5 against people who had a lot of reliance on like Hangai or whatever. And yeah, this is my AOL. EHP with Giga Effectiveness. She was on book originally, but I ran out of books, so she's on Spirit Breath. But you can make her tankier for sure. It's just like I don't have that kind of gear on my account. Surprise, surprise. No, but yeah, pretty good. I use her less and less towards the end of the season since a lot more people banned Lua AOL near there. But decent against people who use Hankai or whatever. This is my Ailika, one of the best, most broken 4-5 picks. She's 445 gear score, unironically the highest gear score unit on my account, but she could use a bit more damage, I think, and a bit more speed. Like Elf Mage has 13 speed on me with the same imprint, so that's a little bit of an L, but we take what we can get. She was really good. Like I would say she would be in my top 5 units of the season for win rate, I guess. This is my Sylvan Siege Vivian. Basically saw no changes because I didn't get any lifesteal upgrades, but she's a safe book holder. And what I mean by safe is that she's safe in the sense where she holds book and she provides decent AoE damage. But she's safe in the way where like people can pivot out of Politis drafts where you like pick a lot of water or you pick really tanky and then Politis kind of sucks into there. Sylvan Sage Vivian baits in units like Solitaria or Rimuru, and my style of aggressive play naturally kills those units really well. So I really liked picking Sylvan Sage Vivian to bait those type of units in. So she was MVP for that. This is my DJB. He's kind of mid. He's missing a few imprints because like free to play or whatever. But he's also one of my top units this season. This Eternus is super value. He could use a bit more res. Like I think if you can get like 240 or like 220 or 220 to 240, that would be really good. And he could use a bit more bulk, but I have no complaints. I really love Sand Guy and would recommend if you had. This is my APOC. Trash. Almost never picked. But I did pick her a few times into like really slow comps that, you know, injury punished, and she won there. But with this stat line, she's kind of hard to pick. Like ideally you'd want her at like 180 speed with 1.5k, 27k plus 100, 300, but the gear is just not there for me. Okay, the Dark Corvussy. Dark Corvus came back a big way this season. Even though the HP frenzy really hurts him, near the end of the season, like all the comps people were running where it was like Lionheart, Ocean Breeze, LRK, they are all Dark Corvus food. He obviously needs more stats. Like I would want 1.8k def plus like 332k HP with like everything else being the same. But my gear for Dark Corvus just isn't there because it's very specific. But he won me a lot of games where people just couldn't deal with him. Like Dark Corvus, you don't even have to play him towards Frenzy 9 because once you S3 Soul Burn their like main damage dealer and it's just like 3 supports versus Dark Corvus, most people will top right because they know they're just wasting their time. So he was a free one for that. Designer a little bit. She's on a decent build. She could definitely be better, but imprints and gear. I rarely picked her, but I picked her into a few like Briar comps and she was pretty decent into that, where they also had Stenny and the AoE damage really helped in killing her. But other than that, she didn't see too much use. Didn't really see too much use either. I think he needs a bit better gear than I can give him right now. Like ideally I would want him to have a bit more attack and bulk and a bit more speed, but be good. Like I got soloed by a few of these due to my poor drafting. So we're back to Hand Guy and we're back to free gear. But he worked out. The DPS stats aren't wasted because against certain teams it's an automatic. Against certain teams, having the ability to chunk them with like S2 or S1 was pretty nice. Didn't really pick him towards the end because I was mostly the aggressor and then the opponent would pick Hand Guy into me as a response, but decent. My Strays is decent. F2P Tachi. I would ideally want like 20 more speed though, but at least he has bulk. He fell off a bit due to a lot of arrows being built on Holy Sack and stuff, but not the worst thing in the world. Pretty decent. Was pickable. This is my effectiveness FCC. I didn't really play Faintness too much during the end of near the end of the season. She's kind of missing like 400 def, but don't ask questions. But she was definitely pickable, mostly into anti-cleave, and the effectiveness was really nice because if they picked Karina or something, I could just infinitely stun lock, provoke lock the Karina, so Karina couldn't S3 something else that was important. This is my Acid. Not very fast, not very special. Can't really even pick him into Rands at the speed. There's a lot of Rands for 310. But he was there as like a 4-5-4 span if they picked things that disrespected speed in the 3-4 position. BBK didn't really pick. Needs immunity. I don't have immunity gear. What can you do? Didn't pick. I geared him in case I wanted to pick him, but I always had better options, especially when my closer is built this poorly. This is like the fastest neck I have left, so what can you do, Brug? This is my Rylet, pretty decent. I think if I could get 200 more attack and 30 more crit damage, this Rylet would be like best in the world, but until then, this is the build he's going to be rocking. He saw a bit of play during the last few days where people were really gung-ho about picking Lionheart. And then if you had Lionheart plus Rylet, if you had Celius plus Rylet, like Lionheart was dying the first turn S3, 100%. So that was pretty fun. Briar, one of the most broken units of this season, like her S3 Soulburn and preventing revive is just really disgusting. Combined with Immortality and Guiding Light, she was really sticky and she provided a lot of risk. And the thing about Bryceria is if you pick her early, like they can pick Edward, design a little bit, sure. But those two units have a lot of counters. Like you could pick like Arya Lifesteal Aiden and they would die to that combo. So I think that's her strength. She's unpredictable. She can be on different builds. Like there were people running a bunch of different builds on this Bryceria. Like there's the DPS effectiveness variant, there's the slower ER effectiveness variant. But this unit was really good this season. I'm really glad I picked her up from the ML selector last year. Opzig, terrible. This is a terrible build. We don't have Guiding Light. But when I did pick her, it was into like the slower, abusable FCC picking players or people who I matched and I knew their Carmen was on protection set. So Opzig would be best in slot against those teams and she would get banned or she would win me the game, even on this build. This is my Stenny. I upgraded her bulk a lot since my guild kept making fun of me saying that an AK HP Stenny dies to a AOLS one and I didn't want to hear that anymore, so I upgraded her bulk. So she's bulky now, which is great. She was basically like the MVP. She's my top one picked unit. She closes out games against lower players just by being untargetable and having 1 billion damage. She holds book. Like, what's there not to like? This is Zio. I rebuilt him. Oh, his max book is actually on someone else right now, or Guild Wars, I think. But if I were to simulate his stats, I don't use Mo. If I were to simulate his stats, this is what it would be. He's kind of on a hybrid build where he's on effectiveness, but enough effectiveness to only hit mid ER units like Karina or LRK. And then he has enough damage to be like threatening to like really squishy units in Cleave or whatever. This unit was really good this season. I had to uncage him thanks to ML Landy, and that was a lot of fucking suffering thanks to ML Rowana Cleaves, but whatever. And my last unit is Death Dealer Ray. He's kind of on like a middling build where he has like, he's really fast, but he has like both ER and effectiveness. I did pick him a few times, but there's a lot more easier ways to just kill your opponents, namely this unit or stuff. Oops. But yeah, that's basically my album. Nothing is too special. There's just like some standouts. Like this Stenny is 443. My Millum is 440. And like this is 430 and whatever, but like my count wasn't that special, I think. I think I outdrafted my opponents a lot and I leveraged my Lua pick a lot to win me games, which I guess is like abusing OP stuff, but whatever, everyone else has it. And yeah, while I don't think I was the worst account in Legend, I was definitely a contender for one of the weaker sides of my one of the weaker accounts in Legend, because a lot of Legend players are able to shift their gameplay, but I'm pretty inflexible. Like I like being the aggressor a lot of the time, and being taken out of that comfort zone makes me pick stuff like this APOC or like this Distina, which are not optimized for the best gear score. But you know, we still made it work. We still hit Legend, so we're pretty happy. I'm definitely looking to improve my account. Like my account needs a few things. Like it needs better bruiser gear and it needs better tank support gear, but it also needs like better. Like if I had a real Rand, this season would have been a lot easier for me because when people start disrespecting your speed, like a real Rand would have helped me out in a bunch of cases. But we do what we can. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on Saturday when I'm testing Green Lilius or whatever. Bye.